Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss about important questions from orthopedic for NEET PG exam. The first question is tardy ulnar palsy is seen in cubitus varus, fracture of internal condyle, excision of elbow joint. The correct answer is cubitus valgus. So, what is this cubitus valgus? Where it is seen? So this is a deformity can occur as a complication of fracture of lateral condyle of humerus. So there will be friction neuritis of ulnar nerve which occurs as it moves over the medial epicondyle in cubitus valgus. So this can result in late ulnar nerve palsy called tardy ulnar palsy. So it is in case of fracture lateral condyle of humerus. So fracture lateral condyle of humerus. So it is an intra-articular fracture. So the three bony point relationship is altered because one of the bony landmark is lateral condyle in this. So the three bony relationship altered, and based on the fracture line with respect to capitulum, it is divided as medial and lateral fracture of lateral condyle of humerus based on the fracture line with respect to capitulum. So the most common complication is lateral bony spur formation. That is bony spur formation, but it doesn't require any surgery. So what is the most common complication requiring surgery? That is non-union. So this non-union causes cubitus valgus. Cubitus valgus is dynamic deformity and it is a functional deformity. So the surgery is Milch osteotomy. So this based on fracture line with respect to capitulum, this classification is called Milch classification. The surgery is called Milch osteotomy. Milch osteotomy. We should do this surgery as soon as possible to avoid injury to ulnar nerve. That is tardy ulnar palsy. So the treatment of fracture of lateral condyle of humerus is, as it is fracture of necessitans, we require open reduction and internal fixation. The treatment of choice for lateral condyle of humerus is open reduction and internal fixation. So for this cubitus valgus, we can do Milch osteotomy. Should be done as soon as possible to avoid tardy ulnar nerve palsy. The next question is, hammer toe refers to hyperextension at metatarsophalangeal joint, flexion at proximal interphalangeal joint, flexion at distal phalangeal joint, flexion at metatarsophalangeal joint. The correct answer is flexion at proximal interphalangeal joint. So usually this hammer toe is seen in neuromuscular diseases. So there will be loss of function of intrinsic muscle. So in neuromuscular disease, there will be loss of function of intrinsic muscles of foot, especially interossei. There will be loss of function of intrinsic muscle, especially interossei, flexor digitorum longus, which causes increased flexion at proximal interphalangeal joint. There will be increased flexion. So this causes hammer toe. So flexion at proximal interphalangeal joint is called hammer toe. It is due to loss of function of interosseous muscle and flexor digitorum longus, which causes increased flexion at proximal interphalangeal jaw. So which looks like hammer. So what is claw toe? So there will be hyperextension at metatarsophalangeal joint. Hyperextension at metatarsophalangeal joint and flexion at both interphalangeal joints. There will be hyperextension at metatarsophalangeal joint and flexion at both interphalangeal joints. That is claw toe. So what is mallet toe? So there will be flexion deformity of distal interphalangeal joint. So this is about the different types of toes. So the next question is the pathognomonic sign of simple bone cyst is fallen fragment sign, scalloping of cortex, it never breaches the physis, central radiolucent lesion. The correct answer is fallen fragment sign. So it represents that fractured fragment of bone settles to the most dependent portion of the cyst because of its unicompartmental nature. The fallen fragment sign means the fractured segment will come down, that is in most dependent part of the cyst due to unicompartmental nature. So this is seen in simple bone cyst, fallen fragment sign. The fractured fragment comes in dependent portion of the cyst. So there will be another terminology called aneurysmal bone cyst. It is an important topic. Aneurysmal bone cyst. Important. So it is most common in females than males, and it is most common below the age of 18 years. That is, it is an immature type. So most common bone involved is proximal femur. Proximal femur, that is at metaphysis. So it is an eccentric cyst, more expansile. So expansile asymmetrically and grossly expansile. The X-ray finding of this cyst is there will be irregular destruction plus there will be multiple blood-filled sinuses. There will be multiple blood-filled sinusoids with well-defined septae in between present. That is called pencil in cup or finger in balloon sign. So these are the X-ray finding of aneurysmal bone cyst. What is the biopsy finding? We can see giant cell variants. So what is the management of this aneurysmal bone cyst? Wide excision plus customized prosthetic allograft reconstruction. Wide excision plus reconstruction with customized prosthesis. So the next question is the equilateral triangle formed by the tip of olecranon, lateral epicondyle and radial head is called Ward's triangle, Bryant's triangle, radial triangle and Anconius triangle. The correct answer is Anconius triangle. So what is this Anconius triangle? When we look the elbow in lateral position, when we look the elbow from lateral position, the tip of olecranon and lateral epicondyle and radial head forms an equilateral triangle. So this is an anatomical landmark for posterolateral portal for elbow arthroscopy. It is an anatomical landmark for posterolateral portal for elbow arthroscopy. So this is seen when we observe the elbow from lateral position. This is from lateral view. So what is Ward's triangle? So this is a radiolucent area between principal compressive, secondary compressive, and primary tensile trabecula in the neck of femur. It is seen in case of neck of femur. It is a sensitive indicator of osteoporosis, particularly in men. It is a sensitive indicator of osteoporosis. It is used to identify patients at increased risk of osteoporosis. We can identify the risk patients for osteoporosis, that is Ward's triangle. It is a radiolucent area between principal compressive, secondary compressive, and primary tensile trabecula in the neck of femur. This is Ward's triangle. So next is Brandt's triangle. So it is a right angled triangle formed by anterior superior iliac spine, tip of greater trochanter, and junction of these two perpendiculars where will those two lines will meet. So it is right angle triangle formed by anterior superior iliac spine, tip of greater trochanter, and the line joining these two. The distance between the tip of greater trochanter and the junction of two perpendiculars measures the supratrochanteric shortening. Measures the supratrochanteric shortening. Where we can see this supratrochanteric shortening, it is seen in case of dislocation of hip, central fracture dislocation of hip, fracture neck of femur, destruction of head or acetabulum or both, acetabulum or head or both, coxa vara deformity of hip, and malunited intratrochanteric fracture. In these conditions, there will be supratrochanteric shortening, so which is analyzed by Brandt's triangle. So this is right angle triangle formed by anterior superior iliac spine, tip of greater trochanter, and junction of perpendiculars from these two lines. So the next question is, following deformities may be seen in classic case of tuberculosis of knee except posterior subluxation, medial rotation, flexion, lateral subluxation. The correct answer is medial rotation. This medial rotation is not seen. We can see lateral rotation. So there will be abduction of the tibia. In case of tuberculosis of knee, there will be abduction. So these are due to spasm and contracture of hamstrings muscle. Spasm and contracture of hamstrings muscle. There is something called triple deformity, which is seen in case of TB knee. So what are the components of triple deformity? One is posterior subluxation, second one is external rotation of tibia, external or lateral rotation of tibia, and there will be flexion of knee. So these are the components of triple deformity in case of tuberculosis of knee. So in this we can see fibrous ankylosis. Fibrous ankylosis. The tuberculosis is most common in case of lungs. After lungs, first most common is it seen in lungs. After that lymph nodes. After that genitourinary tract. After that we can see in skeleton. So what is the most common site in case of skeleton? The most common site is spine. After that hip. So in this spine, the most common site is lower thoracic. more than upper lumbar. So what is this spine? What is the tuberculosis of spine? The first symptom will be backache, and there are signs like paraspinal muscle spasm. The range of movement at spine will be reduced, and there will be military attitude, and there will be formation of cold abscess which travel along the neurovascular bundles. The management of this tuberculosis of any joints is starting anti-tubercular drugs and should take bed rest. And in case of tuberculosis of spine, we can advise Taylor's brace. And if at all, if there is any nerve compression, then we can do surgery. That is anterolateral decompression with bone grafting. So the tuberculosis is most common in lungs, but in case of skeleton, the most common seen in spine. Tuberculosis of knee is not that most common, but it is also seen. So these are the important questions of orthopedic for NEET PG. So there are many other questions I'll be dealing in further classes. If you want to watch further videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and please share the video. Thank you.